Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Hope everyone had a great weekend and start to their week. We are back with some more Roadwarden. When I left off, we traveled all the way up here. We basically died, or didn't die, but we almost died here dealing with some like fox type creatures. We ran all the way back to the ruins. There's a drifter there that once helped traveling to Pelt of the North, but I didn't realize I needed more vitality than I had, because I was able to rest a little bit, but it didn't restore me enough to actually help him. And he was going to leave today regardless, so I don't know. I think I have to rest for the day, or at least, not do too much and see what happens, I guess. Which sucks, because I basically just wasted this whole day, and there's only 40 days total. So, yeah, I guess I need 2 out of the 4 to actually help him. Don't know. Yeah, let me see if I can update my appearance a little bit. Maybe when I go back to that, what's it called? Haller's Dell. Maybe they might like me a little bit more. So, the well. It's not a convenient spot, but in 2 hours I can remove the bloodstains from my clothes. That didn't even... Soaking, pounding, and rubbing the fabric while you hold it above the dusty ground takes a lot of effort, especially without flowing water. Okay, so I washed my clothes, and now I need to wash me. Oh, so I see it's a part. Okay. Splashing yourself with cold water from a bucket won't take away your smell, but it's enough to remove the tallow and sweat from your skin, or mud stains from your clothes. So, that's all I got out of that, but... Let's see if I can rest a little bit. See, I don't know. Waiting doesn't do anything. It just makes time pass, as far as I know. There should be like a rest for the day. Just hang out here. Oh, I don't know what else to do to get my vitality back. Let's go and see like what's immediately east, since we have time to kill before we can actually sleep. The curvy road east is overgrown. Haas trots when it has a chance, but more often it walks, forced to jump over larger branches blocking the path. The nearby lake is surrounded by thirsty wildlife. I observe the dark forest, ready to react if something jumps at me. A couple of stone slabs were turned into a hut-like shape, one of the ancient chapels raised by the priests of the United Church in the days of few soldiers and even fewer shelters. The dolmens proved to be especially durable, though the conditions they offered were harsh. The entrance is barely wide enough to let you walk inside. It was meant to keep larger beasts away, including your palfrey. You can't spend the night here. You just mount and look around. I approach the hourglass carved into stone. It's the most common religious sign of the city folk, adapted by the United Church, Orders of Truth, and the majority of fellowships. It's used in temples and during the funeral rites, but also to decorate codices or jewelry. The winged hourglasses portray the ephemerality of life and the rigidity of time. When possible, they're made of steel, signifying the strength of humankind's determination and innovation. I'm not a pious soul. As I'm standing in front of the hourglass, I feel nothing. Haas is observing the area. I enter the chapel. The beams of light get through the gaps between the rocks, but you can hardly see anything. A torch would fill the place with smoke, but a candle will suffice. You wonder how many travelers have sat on the cold rock, observing the entrance and fighting with their heavy eyelids. I light up a candle. You unpack the tinderbox from your saddles, then place the flint and the linen char cloth on the narrow slab sticking out to the right of the entrance. Decades ago, before the southern invasion, people used fire strikers made of thick steel, but all you have left is a cube-like piece of harsh pyrite. It's not the best, but enough to make a couple of sparks. Sadly, the weak light is hardly enough to let you examine the chamber. Ooh. It's like a perception check. The candlelight may be weak, but I'm patient. I look for clues carefully. You touch your surroundings, bringing the candle closer whenever something catches your attention. Even though a part of the ground is covered with a single massive slab, there are sections free of any flooring. You see soil, small rocks, sand. In one spot, you find the remains of charred wood. Also, you notice sticky soot on the walls. Parts of it cover black marks and pictures, possibly letters. I look around. What are we looking for? Well, I said letters. A large part of the wall is covered with engravings. It's difficult to figure out what they are meant to portray, but one picture is obvious to you. A long arrow pointing down. Parts of the writing, as well as the nearby wall, is covered with soot. Well, it's pointing down. Hole, maybe? Door? Okay. How would I word this? How would I word this? Because if there's an arrow pointing down, I want to dig? Maybe trapdoor? Okay. You make a couple of small holes in various spots, but the most interesting area turns out to be hidden beneath the remains of an old campfire. You move all the ash and pieces of wood until you find a well-preserved plank. You dig around, finding a solid trapdoor locked with a steel padlock. I break the trapdoor with my axe. It's probably a smart thing to do. You take your axe, but realize that the padlock may be much easier to break through. The wooden planks, even if a bit moist, are in great shape. You look for the right angle and make 3 strong swings. After an encouraging clang, the padlock falls off. I look inside. You lift the hatch, and the heavy, humid air suggests an abandoned farm cellar. Your candle allows you to estimate that the tunnel is roughly 15 feet deep, but there's no ladder that you can use. You think about lowering the rope, but you realize that one of the brick walls is covered with large holes, meant to be used as a sort of vertical stairs. You hear no sound coming from the tunnel, but the moldy walls and old cobwebs are not very welcoming. Well, come this far. Let's see what happens. I climb down. You have to move slowly, learning the new route. You hug the cold, moist wall, seeking the support for your boots. It doesn't take long before you feel comfortable enough to jump down, then light up another candle. Both the walls and the floor are made of stone slabs. You see no movement, no other sources of light. The short tunnel leads you to a small room. I walk inside. The room smells of rotten wood and fungi. Abandoned junk is scattered on the ground in shelves. Earthenware jars, rotting scraps of linen or leather, wooden plates, bones for carving, and rusty iron tools. While these odds and ends may be years or decades old, the basement could be just as ancient as the main floor of the chapel. The one thing that seems to be uniquely fresh and durable is a small wooden box held together by a few fiber cords. I take the box. It doesn't feel empty, but it's light. You shake it for a bit, trying to guess what's inside. You can't open the box without cutting the cords. I cut the cords with my knife and open the box. The box turns out to be filled with rags, covering a fragile bottle. It's small and closed with a tall wax seal, inside of which you see a thin stick. It should be easy to instantly open it if needed. You can't look inside, and if you open it, you may not be able to seal it again. Nevertheless, you recognize a magical potion when you see one. Man, I don't even know what it is. I attached it to my belt. It may be useful later on. Alright, well. It was less interesting than I was hoping, but that's cool. I go outside. What time is it? Let's travel, I guess. I guess we don't want to go too far. Let's just go back to the inn. The guards are close to the gate, looking at you with curiosity. One of them speaks. We're closing, Roadwarden. Better come inside. I get off my horse and enter the inn. The open windows fill the hall with refreshing air and the sounds of conversation. The innkeeper standing behind the counter, preparing a set of mugs. Something bothering you? He sighs. I don't have anything to ask. I thought there was going to be a new... I don't know them. Yeah, well, I didn't ask. Let's change the topic. Sleep. Yeah, let's sleep a room because we need to get our vitality back or we're just not going to be great. Sleeping in a room, a comfy bed with a clean blanket and a large and in an isolated chamber. You also get a large breakfast, a wash tub with water and soap, and some clothes to wash your teeth. You hear a thunderous roar. You rise to your feet and rub the sleep from your eyes. The doors are opening. People are shouting orders and words of warning. As you open the window, you see what's behind the commotion. Something is on the other side of the wall, trying to get through, and the guards are fighting it off with their torches, spears, and crossbows. Thanks to their light, you see the large, furry paws placed on the top of the wall walk. As far as you can tell, the beast is but a single leap away from getting inside. Man, I need the I'm gonna die. I need to help them. You look for your gambeson and blade, still a bit foggy in your thoughts, and once you find them, you struggle to get inside the jacket. As your habits kick in, you see the innkeeper right in front of you holding a candle. You're a guest. Stay here, he says without a shadow of hesitation. My team has no time to worry about outsiders. Just after his words, you hear cheerful laughter from the wall. Judging by the way they point their fingers and lower their weapons, the beast is fleeing. Well, I shouldn't expect people will need my help all the time. The small room is quiet and far away from unwanted eyes. You take a calm bath, rest on a soft mattress, look through the window, and enjoy the minutes of safety. In the morning, you find a stool with a large wooden plate bearing an aromatic breakfast, a raw cabbage head, a smoked quail wing, and a cup of yogurt. Downstairs, the innkeeper is putting firewood into the stove. He asks if you need anything. Any leftovers? Not today, no. Maybe tomorrow. Okay. All I need, go outside. Alright, let's see if the guy's still there at the ruins. I didn't check, but I assume my vitality's back. Yeah. Yeah, return to the scavenger's camp. The entrance to the scavenger's hideout is open. You see scraps of metal organized in piles while the old furniture has been dismantled into loose planks and pushed into corners. Hi, Roadster! The man looks tired and his beard is sticky, but he smiles at you. If you're ready, I'll start packing the tent. If you don't want to wait, start putting the iron on your mount. It will be quicker. Just say the word and we can leave. Okay. Time to head for Pelt of the North. The scavenger keeps asking you to watch out for beasts and wraps the sharper scraps of iron in his cape. Folding the tent and putting it on your horse takes a while, and neither of you can sit down on the large pile of sacks and bundles. There's a long walk ahead of you, but for Haas, it won't be much of a burden. Once you clear the room, you walk away. At first you hear only the birds and horseshoes, then the man starts to whisper. Faster, eh? The apes are looking at us. You don't see any proof of that. Nothing we can do about it. I lead us to the southern gate. You move forward, slowed down by having to secure the bundles on Haas's back and carry your own bags. After half an hour, the man asks for a break. Even though you shared your food with him, he's not fully recovered from days of hunger. But the farther away you get from the ruins, the more cheerful and talkative he gets, mostly speaking about what he needs to buy and how much he hates the damn place. Then the beasts show up. I prepare my axe. Oh, griffins. Oh, well, this is where it's over, I guess. A loud bunch of griffins blocks the road near a pond. For you, their colorful furs and feathers don't look much different than the pack you faced in the valley days ago. There's still some distance between you and them, but it could be crossed in less than a minute. There's maybe 20 beasts in sight, and this time they pay you much more attention. They spread their wings and start to screech, some making a few leaps forward. Your mount is too overloaded for you to turn away and get out of their range. Better to hold our ground, groans the scavenger, preparing his crossbow and dagger. Well, being defensive didn't work for the foxes. I'm gonna ask him what his plan is. I turn toward the man. What's your plan? He shrugs. Not much to plan here. Just kill as many as we can, and if we're lucky, the rest will tuck their tails and scat. They won't kill all three of us, eh? They're just griffs. Yeah, that just sounds like a bad idea. True, let's stay on the defensive, but keep an eye on the horse. See if it works. Okay. He nods and blocks the path between the beasts and your mount, then raises his loaded weapon, moving his aim between the approaching creatures. So I'm worried if I pull out the crossbow, my crossbow, I'll defend him. I stay close to the scavenger, making sure nothing jumps on our backs. The man's arrow hits and stops one of the creatures, but it doesn't buy you much time. He realizes your plan and also gets closer to you. The semicircle of beaks and talons is hardly organized. One of the creatures simply leaps at you, and others follow. For the next minute, you slice and dice whatever you can hit, filling the air with screeches and feathers. The sheer number of opponents overwhelms you more than once, and it's difficult to keep pushing them away with your free hand. Judging by the painful shouts, the scavenger is struggling, but is still alive. Finally, it all ends, though not because of a lack of opponents. The two creatures you butchered are on the ground, but the others, some of them hurt, have enough strength to run away. Their will is broken, yet the pack will go on, at least for some time. Your fine gambeson keeps you in one piece, and is still in decent shape. The man spits on the ground. May apes and ibixes bang this place day after day. He leans forward, taking a few deep breaths, then looks at you. Roadster, we're a fine team, ye and I. He laughs briefly. Let me drop my ballista and we can move forward. I just smile and try to ease Haas's thoughts. It's better to keep moving. Oh, we lived. The man's sleeve and stomach are soaked with blood, but he tells you to ignore it. Once you get close to Pelt, he whistles enthusiastically. Ye weren't kidding, aye? What a fortress. The guards open the gate and take care of the scavenger's bundles, which Haas welcomes with a nicker. The man introduces himself quickly and asks to be brought some water from the well. Thank ye, Roadster. I need to ask the innkeep if he has any soup. I'm not going to chop off my damn arm. Soap. I'm not going to chop off my damn arm. He clicks with his tongue. Bah, like I told ye, if you want your coins, you have to come back tomorrow when my pouch gets heavier. But I can and would prefer to give you the potion that repels ape men instead. It's useful, but not as much in the south as it is here in the woods. I'll be here tomorrow or later. Don't leave before you pay me. 5 dragon bones. Don't worry, if anything. I can always leave them to the innkeeper. I'll be here for at least a couple of days. You'll find me around. After all my recent camping, I'm going to spend a few hours kissing this nice strong wall. He starts to laugh and walks away, waving goodbye. Alright, what time is it? Oh, we got a lot of time. Alright. Map. Can I not leave? All right. Traveler's Den is 2 hours away. See, we can't get too far. I mean, he does say he's going to stay for a couple days, but... Well, I don't necessarily want to go east yet. We can check south. See what's over there. The shapes of mountains are cutting through the horizon. The water gets gradually less muddy. The cleaner it gets, the more animals you see. A family of deer blocks the road, resting and enjoying the cold water, which would be deadly for a human stomach. You consider riding around them through the sparse meadow, but your presence also causes them disquiet. Without much haste, they regroup and run east into the leafy forest. I travel forward. You've reached Hag Hills, the wall of stones that has blocked the city's grasp. The one well-established route through them leads through the valley where you found Tulia's camp. There are no maps of the highlands nor local tribes, only stories. The beaten path leads you by the garden beds of herbs and vegetables to an old, yet not abandoned, mine hidden behind a massive door made of steel. I look around. There's no hitching rail for a mount. A bearded, skinny elder sits still on a bench, observing you like a sculpture, with his legs crossed and fingers interlocked on his abdomen. I get off my horse respectfully. You dismount and keep an eye on Haas. You greet the man, and as he nods back to you, you mention that you have a few questions. There's cold civility in the air, as if you're sharing a table at an inn. I need you to look at me whilst you speak. His strict voice reminds you of a master of craft guild, though his thick accent distorts this image. I can't eat here without magic, but I'll read your lips. I've no wish to talk about your daily struggles, traveler. It's not a refuge for strangers. Say what you're looking for and let our paths split. He doesn't yell, but his voice is not used to being opposed. His face is wrinkled, but he sits straight, with beard and hair still carrying glimpses of fair blonde. He's tan like a worker, and his eyes are blue and piercing, as if they belonged to an infant. I explain who I am. What do I call him? Gary. I don't know. Old timer. He stares off across the garden beds, forcing you to wait in silence. The elder is tall, with long hair and a beard that was let loose a long time ago. His sandals are covered in dust, and you spot dirt on his clothes and skin. The woolen tunic and linen were made with care, decorated with colorful threads at the collar and sleeves. Now all the blues and greens have faded, and the fabric is held together by patches and stitches. His hands are still folded. The voice remains firm. You do need know our customs. Your name, your trade, your calling mean nothing to the forest. I do need know what you expected to find here, but this is not a place for strangers. I wait for him to look at me. The man stands up and approaches your palfrey. Without touching it, he observes its eyes, mane, stomach, and rear. Haas ignores this examination. My nose was right then. Astarion is dead, as are his plans. Such is the fate of all dreamers. He turns towards you with a grim look. Are you going to look for him? You nod. Why? If he's vanished into the fogs, there's nay point in putting yourself in danger. What do you expect to find? It's a job. There's a reward for finding him. He closes his eyes and nods slowly. The people of the north need someone willing to jump through the fire in exchange for furs and iron. Yet I wish you'd focus on saving the living, and chasing those who are already gone. With lively steps, he heads towards the spring. He washes his hands, once again forcing you to wait. Old people need time to gather their thoughts. His voice is cold and confident. So, what do you need? Have you met Asterion? He wanders among the garden beds, from time to time touching the leaves at hand. He was here more than once. He was named one to stand aside and let events play out by themselves. The villagers from the north are sometimes in need of my assistance, and Asterion was serving them as a messenger. He bends down and tears away a small flowerless plant. He wanted to settle down among these roads, maybe to live freely. He had great plans and wanted to make this realm flourish, to rebuild the ruins, get rid of the brigands, and clear the trade route. I told him that the forest needs more people, and that this realm is too wild to feed and clothe everyone. His greed and dreams have eaten him, and now he is no more. He pauses and you can hear it, and you can hear his heavy breathing, as if he's getting tired. He straightens up. And that's that, traveler. If you want to look for his shell, travel north, far north. People there should know where he is. I'll do that. Seems like the path at the heart of the woods is quite dangerous. It has a long and dark past, and already caught many souls of its builders. 'Tis paved with blood, and last 10 years have revealed it was all for nothing. Since the days of, he glances at you, once again surprising you with how shiny and lively the blueness of his eyes is, of grand discord. The tribes of this land are locking themselves in their fields and houses, too afraid to leave them behind, too untrusting to meet other souls unguarded. 'Tis not the first road to be claimed back by the wilderness, and will not be the last. You ask if he has seen any tips for you on how to survive such a trip, and he tells you it would be wiser to just avoid it. He then reaches to his pocket, grabs a leaf, and puts it in his mouth, chewing gently. Death may take many paths to us, stranger, but cats are the one enemy that's both as dangerous in its stealth as in combat. No human can fight it alone. If you see one of them, and it's not too late, do not provoke it. Make it wary, but not scared. Look big, talk a lot, seek its action in its eyes. That seems random, but okay. What can you tell me about the druids? He strokes his beard gently. I will not share our paths with strangers. We are oven for the people of Hallersdale and for the lands around it. Okay, so he doesn't trust me enough. I want to know what happened to the village in the east. And I'm not willing to tell you that. He raises his chin and his beard shakes. That shameful tale ought to be kept in the past, for the sake of the living. Okay, can you tell me anything about the altar near the crossroads in the north? He smiles. 'Tis the tree that you should pay attention to, the true gift from the forest. It answers to our offerings and rewards us with its magnificent fruits. They heal both shell and soul, and make anyone who eats them stronger than they ever were. We gather around this altar whenever the winter ends, and whilst it requires a painful sacrifice from all of us, it prepares one soul for the future like nothing else could. Okay. I heard about some bandits. Were they bothering you? He strokes his beard, but then grasps it nervously. There are souls who steal from White Marshes, a village in the north. They would not dare to show up here, but those brigands are brutes, simpletons. Eva, their leader, Glacia. Okay, this just seems like a weird sentence. Eva, their leader, Glacia, listens only to force, and will humiliate for the enjoyment of her man. She will not be afraid of some lost Roadwarden. He lets go of his beard and lowers his head. She's drifted so far away from her old self, a kind, bright girl from Gale Rocks, loved by her parents. But now, do not cross her, or she'll find you. How can you survive in this place, being all by yourself? His raised voice makes him sound like a preacher. One day, me and my wife will be but defenseless old people, but we've studied pneuma and leaves for many decades. I heal wounds and illnesses of humans and animals alike, and the beasts listen to our whispers. The holy seed lets our shells wait for death and strength. I'm looking for a job. He looks at the garden beds. We have everything we need. Okay. What can you tell me about this place? Your eye sees what there's to know. People found copper in a cave. It's been abandoned for a long time now. So we turned it into a shelter to stay close to the sacred tree and its altar. We're servants, my wife and I, and this place is nothing more than a servant's house. Okay. I guess bye. What time is it? 9.5 hours before dusk. So let's go back to Foggy Lake and then north. You follow the road spread between the hills and lonely trees until you reach a solid wooden bridge, not older than a generation. You ride uphill, but Haas manages to keep up. The dark woods in the south are behind a gently humming creek, while the forest on your right was trimmed by the locals. It's a peaceful journey, at least for some time. After a few minutes, you spot a group of wolves feasting on a fallen furry beast, maybe a wisent. One of them looks towards you. We ride a bit faster. The road fades into an old tunnel. There are no signs of mining, no signposts, no human voices. The ceiling was supported by wooden beams, but the light only reaches so far. The chilling wind mercifully bends the few lonely trees, while the shrubs oppose the weather patiently. The side path leading west is somewhat maintained, and you find both boot prints and cart tracks. It leads higher into the mountains. Oh, interesting. I tether Haas to the tree, then enter the tunnel. Your mount observes the area anxiously, so you stay for a moment to give it a good scratch under its neck and say some confident-sounding rubbish. You unpack all the things you need to make a new, simple torch, a log, some old rugs, a bit of oil. You grab your tinderbox and sit on the ground for a couple of minutes, preparing the flint and the linen char cloth. We've already talked about this. The loud flickering yellow light unevenly hits your cheek with heat. You raise the torch but hold it at an angle, letting the oil drip on the ground. Let's see where the tunnel leads. For a few minutes, you follow a fairly straight corridor. The timber supporting the ceiling is decaying, but you don't spot any signs of collapse. The floor is littered with bones and rotting food, most likely dragged in here by wild beasts. There are also signs of soot above you, and boot prints left on the dried mud. You reach the crossroads and stop in place. There's no sconce in sight, and you'd have to constantly carry the torch or lose it for good, and it won't last for long anyway. The draft is hardly noticeable, so looking for an exit in the dark could be dangerous. Oh, well, that's lame. I go back outside. Okay, so we can't explore that yet. Can we go past the tunnel? You have to take a detour. Oh, how much time do I have? A little less than 4 hours. Okay, that's about an hour away. Let's check to the east. The road east is beaten and clean, with enough space to fit 2 wagons side by side. You pass by a few plum trees, apple trees, and cherry trees, but many more stumps, likely belonging to what has been turned into Foggy Lake. The life in the plains is busy and loud, but so far you don't see any lurking beasts. Judging by the many trampled parts of the meadows and the fresh food trails, the foragers searched this corner of the peninsula quite often. They didn't leave much behind. You reach a shining pond at the edge of the forest. You ride beneath 2 trimmed trees growing on the opposite sides of the path, like columns leading to Right's temple. Shouts and heavy steps prepare you for the trouble ahead. 2 shells are circling around each other. One of them is a 4-legged saurian with dark gray skin, as long as your palfrey, but only knee-high. It's wandering left and right along the bank, hissing, repetitively sticking its split tongue out and then retracting it. The stout monster doesn't look like a born hunter of humans, but its long tail is swinging like a whip, for now only threateningly so, but you don't doubt that getting hit by it would likely break your bones. The second one belongs to a brown-skinned man wearing leather pants, a long brown woolen cloak, and the matching pelt of a wolf on his head and shoulders like a haunting hood. His voice is both gentle and scared, and he's stretching his hands in front of him, trying to make the beast stay away, as if it's a mouflon. A third shell is right in the middle between the 2, a creature you don't recognize from a distance, but it is in a puddle of its own blood and isn't moving. Axe in hand, I jump on the ground and rush to help. This is what's going to get me killed. Haas charges forward, those strays a bit to the left, as if hoping that you'll change your mind before you ride into the Saurian. You allow it to do so and land on the ground between the two enemies. The man's voice turns into laughter, and you realize that the dead shell belongs not to a human, but to a creature covered with white fur. Don't worry, friend. I'm trying to scare it away from the Ibex. How can I help? He grins and triumphantly raises a finger. That's the spirit. This Ibex is our destiny, friend. He points at the beast, and as his hat moves around, the loose, shaking jaw distracts you. Say, friend, do you have any fruit in those sacks? Throw some at it. I sigh and look at my weapon. I'll distract it. You grab the Ibex and drag it away. He scratches his hood and nods with approval. You know what, friend? That's an excellent plan. Do so. Without another glance, he once again shouts at the beast, then dashes away from you, followed by his cape. The monster hisses and reaches forward as if waiting to see what are you going to do. You step forward, hoping to draw the monster's attention as far away from the carcass as possible. It answers your challenge and shortens the distance even further. I focus on avoiding its attacks. I don't know how they fight. I keep an eye on its tail. The Saurian still surprises you with the range of its attacks. It turns around while pouncing forward and swings the tail at your chest. Thanks to all the attention you paid to its movement, you duck beneath it and then jump away. The next few sways are distant enough that you don't have to fear them. Ha! Dumb beast, you hear. The thief is running away with the Ibex on his back, holding it by the legs while it hangs from his shoulders. You chase after him, barely able to outspeed the monster yourself, as it has already lost any interest in you. Without your help with the weight of the carcass, you doubt the man could get far. I shout at Haas to run. You follow the trail of blood, as well as the constantly bouncing head of a brown wolf. Once you get close, the man doesn't mind sharing the burden with you. You now hold the creature by its head, and while running side by side is awkward, the weight isn't overwhelming. Your palfrey leads the two of you up the hill. It didn't even touch you, eh? Some good dodging. He warmly laughs. But let's not tempt fate. He looks back, yells in panic, and speeds up. I tell him to prepare for a fight. But the clash never comes. After another minute, the beast gives up on its pursuits, though you wouldn't have realized it if it wasn't for Haas, who now trots without a single care. You look back, and the Saurian indeed backs down, moving to its spawn slowly. Once you approach the woods, you take a short break. Even from a distance, you can see a distinct trail leading between the trees. Not a garden, this forest, the man speaks briefly, gasping from the burden, but not too dark. And cats are but a few. Boars are there, though, and gargoyles. Better not go too deep. There are no roads there. His face is not much older than 20, shaved with great care. Cleaner even than among the city folk. While his hood and heavy cloak mask his figure, he seems well fed and healthy. We're halfway there, friends. Creeks is a gorgeous place, you know. You'll love it. I smile. I'm sure I will. Carrying the Ibex takes a while, and the man is incapable of being silent. Every unusual tree seems to be tied to a story from his life, and he makes sure that you notice the first stream you cross on a new solid bridge. One of many creeks, you see, he says with untamed amusement. A thin gorge leads you between the mountains. This place is quite susceptible to bandits. You follow the trail of shouts and laughter. 7 people, about 20 years old each, are gathered at the wooden bridge, leaning against the railing, bathing in the stream, lying on the grass. Pieces of clothing, made of fur and leather, are spread around, next to cudgels and throwing clubs. Once the sound of hooves manages to break through the chattering, the curious, young eyes, untouched by wartime, turn towards you, and an excited whisper spreads. The shells are proudly displayed, and the confident smiles are both inviting and challenging. How's water? The hunter greets his tribefolk while stepping on the logs. Gentle and warm, says the man resting on his friend's shoulder. That's a nice Ibex. There are paths leading in many directions, but the main road will take you uphill. There's no reason for me to be embarrassed. The light dances on wet hair, both on their heads and crotches, luring your eyes just as much as the revealed chest and muscular arms. You've interrupted not just their bath. The soul who's speaking with your guide is embracing another man as he's sitting behind him, while one of the women is keeping her arm around the waist of yet another man. You hardly see any wounds or marks caused by sickness. The harshest days of this group are still ahead. As you move your eyes from one person to another, they greet you with kind nods, but you notice that their eyes are focused on your rugged clothes. Once you step off the bridge, the hunter chuckles. Seeking warmth, eh? Don't worry, we're not that obsessed with outfits. The wolf's head bounces as he speaks. I nod to the group, then follow the man. The palisade is as tall as trees, but being placed at the top of the crags makes it look impassable. What? Why's the gate closed? The hunter turns to the watchtower and repeats his question, only louder. Maybe call Ela? Too blind to see we have a guest, eh? A hardly visible guard with a female voice leans from the tower. He's coming, Howler, relax. Her shouts hint of no patience towards him. The youth died in the woods after the bath. Why wouldn't we close? The man glances at you. Who's Ela? I whisper. Just my brother. He gestures for you to ignore it. And I'm Ephraim, so thanks to our parents, folks keep mistaking our names. But Ela has a stick in his ass and is as boring and nagging as a legless donkey. The soul from the tower hides again and the gate opens. We enter the village. Excuse me. The sparse clumps of grass survive only on the edges of this spacious yard. The few onlookers wear working clothes, suitable for their hard labor. They're carrying tools, planks, and logs. You're next to a large building of unusual shape, either a temple or a house of gathering. It makes you think of a cabin that's been getting larger over the course of the years, with the section in the middle being darker and more crude than the outer ones. A slightly overweight man is standing in front of the building, with open arms. Welcome to Creeks, friend. His voice and eyes are gentle, but there's vigor in his stance and gestures. Ephraim was meant to hunt, but I see he brought back not one, but two unusual creatures. The hunter rolls his eyes. Don't embarrass us with this prattle. He raises his voice and fills it with bitterness, addressing no soul in particular. And maybe ask someone to help us with this ibex. It's our shared catch. He points at you. Now I want to know to whom we are grateful. Elon nods towards you. While I introduce myself, I observe him more closely. Being close to 30 years old, he's one of the older souls around. Just like the other villagers, he has clothes made of animals, not plants. The leather pants and jacket are humble, but the shoulder cape, reaching from his neck to elbows, used to belong to a yellow elk. His brown skin is darker than that of a farmer, and as you look at the outstretched hands, they carry the marks of being cut by tools. And I'm Ela, the carpenter. He takes a step toward the fruit trees and invites you to move forward. Like most men in the village, he's cleanly shaved. How about I show you the rest of the village? It may be humble, but it's as beautiful as a blue starling. Thanks, Ela. That sounds lovely. As he grins, you notice his unusually white teeth. He moves with heavy but enthusiastic steps. It won't really take that long, but we have quite a view. I swear, interrupts the hunter. I'm not carrying this ibex to the kitchen. Someone call the cooks. After dropping the carcass on the ground, he springs away, fretting the blood on his hands. Let's take a stroll then, says Ela as he leads you forward. Your mount can drink at the creek here. Come, Haas. You tether your mount to a tree next to drying laundry. Ela points at the land behind the bridge proudly. Our newest addition to the village. The hunters grow old, so we are taking steps away from meat and fruits. You spot only two people working in the field, or rather a large garden covered with cabbages, carrots, onions, and garlic, indistinguishable from the wild plants growing in the woods. On the path between the two halves of the field, an elderly woman is sitting on a stool, looking in your direction as if you're interrupting her contemplation. Old Hava there will turn this place into a proper farm one day. She has little strength, but keeps precious memories of her trade. You lack proper seeds. The good ones are expensive, Ela responds right away, as if it's a part of a prepared speech, and we weren't sure about our soil. It's all just a test. He invites you with a gesture to follow him deeper into the village. And there are no seeds in Gale Rocks, while the folks at Howler's won't spare their own. They'd rather force us to buy food from them. There are farmers at White Marshes, adds Ephraim, but it's a dark place. Who knows what we would reap after a year. That's rough. It's rough, buddy. The bonfire spot is surrounded by logs that were cut into tables and stools. Ela approaches the nearest chair, rubbing its back with his cut hands. When we share a meal, we do so here, sometimes beneath the stars. You'd have to see it. The flames dance on the walls to the monster roars and crickets. Ephron's voice also grows in enthusiasm. Dining at the edge of the forest is something you wouldn't forget. Unless you can drink, don't swallow anything stronger than spoiled Ebex milk. The shadows, friend, terrifying. You glance over the wooden buildings. While the walls seem fine, the roofs are primitive, mostly made of planks that are already soggy and bent. There are a few people working on cleaning bark from a log, but the square is mostly quiet, with a few kids observing you from above their toys. Burning such fires must take a lot of wood. It's not something we need to worry about. Eli shows you to look around. We mostly burn what's left after sawing and construction, gathering fuel for a few dozen days. Some of us think they can learn woodworking all by themselves, Ephron says mockingly, so we waste a lot of wood. At least we can roast meat on long sticks as we sit here. Nah, we already have results. The carpenter moves his hands from the chair to his stomach. Everything you see here, friend, was built by us and our elders. How about I show you our old forest? Is it far away? You find the answer right away. You stand between two of the houses in front of the gate of an animal pen. The walls are made of sharpened trunks and are as tall as 2 humans. The captured beasts are tethered by ropes, but they have enough freedom to wander and graze. 2 brown boars and a black mouflon. And here are our captives, Ephron declares proudly. I know, it's still a bit empty, but we'll crowd it just before winter. Are the ropes really enough to keep them here? Can't they chew through them? Both men look at the animals with a renewed curiosity. Well, the hunter starts, if they can free themselves from a hemp rope, then squeeze through the stakes, and while no soul sees them and then get to freedom again, I'd say they deserve to do so. Eli leans against the gate and points at the area behind the palisade. The mouflon may disappear, but the boars would be stuck on this plateau. Have you noticed the old forest, friend? I look north. The vast clearing is returning to life, with shrubs spread between the paths and tree stumps. You move to the bridge, then a gateway, and have a chance to look around. We can see the edge of our world from the watchtower, Ela narrates sublimely. In the long distance, the plateau ends, surrounded by cliffs. You either climb up the mountains or fall to your death. Both men tell you about the difficult past of the village. A desperate camp, then a cabin, then 2, shifting its wooden walls as more and more trees were cut. Without tree crowns, we can walk with no shadows. Beast ends, gargoyle eyes, concludes the carpenter. Is it really better than a forest garden? It would produce much more food. Now I only see berries. Or, I'm surprised that the wrath of the herds hadn't smitten you yet. These pointed sticks won't stop a unicorn. Nothing will, friend, the hunter counters, and the carpenter is eager to follow. I think the landscape. Blocking the path here was one of the first things our predecessors took care of, and it may be that the beasts don't realize how much this place has changed. He tells you there's one more thing to see, and continues his tale as you walk away. From time to time, something reaches our territory. We feel safe among the bushes, but not so that we would send a child there. We have plans. So many lifetimes won't be enough to complete them. He says with a mix of melancholy and excitement, making Ephron listen with attention. I want to see a stone wall with a walk for archers, weapons made of copper, a tannery set at its own camp, so we're free of its stench. Farmers, fishers, sorcerers, herbalists. You return to the main square again. The words of a dreamer. The hunter pats his companion's back. First, we need to learn how to feed our children. We lack strength and skill. Ephron looks at you, but we have time. I nod. With time comes opportunity. You reach the edge of the village, a cliff as tall as the wall. Beneath you, 2 creeks meet each other and form a gentle river. These are the trees we used to learn more about woodwork. Eli is smiling as he leans his back against the wall of a house. We plant new ones, but we'll soon have to bring wood from further away. Give the saplings a few years, or however long they grow. A decade? And this is where I leave the 2 of you with your boring tree talks. Ephron points at you. See me later if you need. I'll be around. I rarely hunt alone. The carpenter watches his departing companion with genial eyes. Well, there's work to be done. A new chair awaits me. He leads you to a humble working station placed at the edge of the square. The tools you notice are very simple, if not primitive. We don't have to talk about my trade, Dane. What brings you to us? Okay. I've heard about the bandits. Have they caused you any troubles? He makes an awkward cut with a chisel and lets out a quiet shit, then starts to rub the plank with his thumb. Bandits, you say? Soldiers from the city have already taken care of them. He pretends that there are no bandits in the north. I need to gain his trust. Okay. Is Astarion around? He halts his work and looks at you with an exaggerated frown. That's a weird question. You're the first Roadwarden I've seen in, well, this season, I think. Did you check in the western villages? You'll get to Hallersdell simply staying on the road. His right hand, still holding a tool, is now squeezing his stomach gently. People say that Astarion has spent... Oh, this might get ugly. People say that Astarion has spent a lot of time in your village. You're hiding something. He adjusts his shoulder cape and clears his throat with a grunt. People, eh? Well, there's some truth to that, but Astarion isn't here, and we don't know where he is. He took our coins, but for fair labor. He moved wares to other settlements, patrolled the roads, escorted an old woman to a druid and back. Did you know you can get good prices for iron at Hallersdell, but even better at White Marshes? Seeing your look, he turns away and rests his elbow on his workbench. His plans are his own problem, and I have no reason to believe he wanted to be found, nor can I help you. I've heard you have some issues with the Eastern Path. At first he gives you a bright smile, but then nods with a sigh. Aye. So our issues are so clear that folks gossip on them. I'm glad you came to our help, friend, but it doesn't feel right to admit we need help from an outsider. He stands up slowly, walks away, and leaps over one of the log-made tables and looks for something in the pile of wood. In this part of the land, there's always going to be something to do for a Roadwarden. He straightens up with a piece of charred wood in his hand and gets back to you. As he draws black lines on the workbench, he mentions a few names. Creeks, Foggies, Gale Rocks there. Here's the lake. The map is simplistic and doesn't align with your own understanding of local distances, but you follow his description without issues. The path from here to the south is getting too wild for us, he repines, making another few strokes. The merchants travel through the other route, through Hallersdell, passing by Old Pagos and White Marshes. Once they reach Foggy, they already have full stomachs and many deals closed. And when they travel back, they visit the same places again. Folks already know that trading here takes a long time. So you want me to give them an option to get to you first and move west without backtracking. And do so all by myself. How exactly? Well, I'm sure you can find some help. He pats his stomach without noticing that he leaves a few black dots on his leather jacket. There's a few things you could do. Follow the eastern road and see if it's clear. Are there any safe shelters left? Any blockades to get rid of? Is there an overgrown path to burn? Maybe see if the road from here to the western crossroads is safe, or if the carts could get through the heart of the woods, if you're brave enough. I hope you're a soul with sage judgment. Seeing your puzzled look, he rests his palms on the table with a shy smile. I know I'm vague, but I bet you already know more about these roads than I do, friend. His eyes return to the map, and after a moment of hesitation, he rubs an uneven line with his thumb. Forgot to mention. Okay. That depends on what you're about to do, aye? The tribe has but a few dragons. To confirm his words, he enters the nearby house, from which he picks up an old wooden case, crude in shape, and with an unsightly engraving of a three-headed hydra on its lid. Inside, you see maybe 24 dragon bones. Let's say you'll get a dragon for any news about cleared or blocked areas, and more if it takes real effort from you. Wouldn't it be better for you to work into the western road? You could split the labor with the other settlements. They can't be trusted, especially some of them. He crosses the western side of his map with a long, thin line. Even a paved route would force merchants to add a day of pointless travel to their plans, and that's a big loss in their trade. Having our path clear gives everyone more options and more convenience. Where would you like me to start? Go to the shelters set just at the side of the roads. There's a ruined campsite west of Foggies. He makes a small circle on his map. Or you could go south to a cabin our elders built. He makes a larger square. It's halfway from here to the river. Take a look around, see what's their condition, if there are any beasts around. You can handle a few small creatures, can't you? So, 2 shelters, and then you just want me to take care of anything I find? He laughs, but not with his eyes. Forgive me, friend, but you don't sound like someone with much experience behind them. You're nothing like Asterion. He took pride in his self-reliance. Okay, just making sure that's what you wanted, dude. We have a deal. He flashes you a wide smile and pats his stomach. You won't regret this. He then throws away the charred wood, returns to his stool, and looks for his tools. No, we didn't. Oh. Yeah, I guess we did. I took a look at the dolmen in the south. It's safe. He keeps sculpting wood and asks you about the size and the entrance of the chapel. I've heard it's small, but not that small. Not enough for a group, but maybe a lone traveler. Without a mount. He looks at you with a smile. Pick a dragon bone from the case, will you? I don't want to stop now. Wow. You reach toward the ugly head of a hydra. I grab a coin. Well, that's a start. Keep it up. I'll let you know if there's anything else. Well, I think it's a decent place to stop. Because we're just going to get into more conversation, and then I need to find a place to sleep. So, we're going to call it for right now, and get back to talking to Ela and Ephraim. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Ela, E-L-A-H. I don't know how else you would pronounce it, but they do speak weird here, so their names might be a little bit weirder than I'm anticipating. But, anyway, let's quick save. And, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time, for some more Roadwarden. I honestly have no idea how long this is going to take. We're at our We've done 2 full days. I think we have 38 days left to actually accomplish my main goal of getting all these towns to basically make trade deals with the mainland. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, we will see you tomorrow. I hope everyone has a good evening.